Right, evening. Another Q&A session. So some good questions. I've had a crazy busy week. How about you?
Yesterday was my first day back at work after 10 days off. So yeah, I don't know if I can say that was great fun. It was good to be back. But at the same time, I felt like I didn't have a clue. A lot can
Yeah.
change in days, but yeah, it's been okay. It's probably making me feel a bit more tired. Because it's the first week of cutting my calories this week as well. So it's been fun.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I've managed to keep to the calories I've got, and naturally that's a really good kind of. I think that's a good topic to go into. So, um, I've struggled to cut my calories. I did try last week, and I did cut them, but then I had a bit of a weekend, not a blowout, but it wasn't ideal. But then this week, I think something's clicked, and I've had that motivation. And when you kind of, when you're ready, you just think, no, I'm ready, I'm on it, and it's not necessarily motivation. There's just I'm almost not looking forward to a calorie deficit is a weird way of putting it, but I'm excited for the results. I've kind of repositioned, I think reframed.
Yeah,
Um,
it's mindset, isn't it? It's not motivation; it's the mindset towards it.
yeah. So I've reframed my mindset, and I've not stupidly, but maybe stupidly, I signed up to a triathlon last week, and it's just kind of I've actually run for the first time in properly run in for the first time in about 18 months, and I wasn't too disappointed. I managed to do 4K in 20 minutes, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
Um, but that's kind of made me think, if I can get the weight off, if I can stick to the deficit, and it's just changing training. So I've had to switch, and we've had a question about strength and stuff. So my strength this week has really dropped, and I noticed that in my bench press and my squats this week. Really, really noticed how I've struggled with the higher weights, and my deadlifts, to be fair. But I think I have to reframe my mind and go, and actually, I'm not. It's not a strength goal now. I'm
yeah.
now looking at it's weight loss, trying to maintain muscle and maintain as much strength as I can. That is going to drop, um, but I'm trying to improve my kind of aerobic fitness ready for this triathlon. So yeah, there's lots of things there. It's good. Right, so that goes into the first question quite nicely. So Gemma asked, how long does it take to lose muscle and strength when you stop training? So this came from something that we spoke about in a check-in. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it's come from that. So yeah, how long does it take to lose muscle and strength when you stop training? There's a perception, isn't it? Like when you stop it, it goes.
It's just going to disappear. Yeah, I think. I mean, you're obviously best placed to answer this one, but I think from a personal standpoint, I had a very long time out of the gym when I broke my ankle. Um, and I joked about regrowing the chicken calf
Yeah,
because it was. I mean, I sent a picture to Will. This is the way my leg was tiny compared to
it
the other
was.
one.
There was a
It was
big difference.
smaller. But as soon as I got back in the gym and started training again, it didn't take as long as I thought.
Yeah.
Within a few weeks, the muscle did back. It like muscle memory is a thing.
Yeah.
It will come back. And I guess, yeah, from personal experience, I was quite shocked at how quickly it came back and how much of my strength I'd actually kept,
Yeah.
even though it'd been a long time.
Yeah, and actually, so there's a difference between perceived strength and actual strength, and
Mm.
we talked about that around the menstrual cycle as well. Whereas you go through the different stages of your cycle, you feel weaker, but actually your performance
God,
is the same.
yeah.
And if you stop training, you can feel like after just a couple of weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, where you think I'm weaker, but that is a perceived drop in strength. It's not a real drop in strength. It can take, you can have 2 or 3 weeks off and you can maintain that same strength. You could, lift exactly the same weight. You might not be able to because your body or your nervous system is telling you, oh, but actually your strength itself, it doesn't really drop. Now, you've got to understand that there are different components in terms of strength building. It's not just building muscle, but actually training the body to effectively use the muscle that it's got. So when you start strength training, one of the first things that happens is that your brain learns how to use the muscle more effectively. It forms the connections between the brain and the muscle so that it can use it more efficiently, and become stronger, and you get those newbie gains. And if you've had like a prolonged period, so let's say you've trained for 10 years and then you have 6 months off and then you come back into training, you can get those newbie gains because your brain relearns how to use the muscle. So in terms of strength drop, yes, your strength can drop because your brain will turn off neural pathways that it's not using quite quickly because it just needs to save itself. You know, if it has to remember everything, there is a finite capacity for you to remember that. So it'll just kind of go, right, we'll shut that nerve pathway off and you have to retrain it. So in terms of strength, yes, that can drop because of that, but it takes 3 to 4 weeks to go down. Actual muscle, it takes a lot longer, and you can maintain muscle by sort of minimal sort of training. You don't need to, you don't actually need to lift as heavy as you did to build the muscle to maintain it, and eating adequate protein. So to actually lose muscle takes a long time, but to lose strength, that can drop after 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, don't panic. And like you say, even when you've lost a little bit of muscle, you don't lose muscle cells. They kind of just shrink so that when you then use them again, they build up quickly, and you can gain the strength back, which is what your muscle memory is. But I mean, yeah, there are other factors in there. You know, it does depend on diet. It depends on age. For women, it depends on whether you're going through perimenopause, because that can accelerate muscle loss. But you know, your hormones and things in there. But the basic thing is, if you've got a healthy, balanced diet, and you are doing some form of, even if it's light, some form of resistance training, you will maintain your muscle, even if strength does drop. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. I think the other myth about like muscle turning to fat when you stop training, which is like another fear, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which,
that just doesn't happen. I mean,
yeah,
you can gain fat if you're not active, but
exactly.
muscle doesn't turn into fat because it's two different types of tissue. So yeah, you know, if you stop training and you carry on eating the same amount of food, then yes, you are going to gain body fat because you're not going to be using all those calories. But in terms of losing muscle, if you've got a good, healthy, balanced diet and you're still fairly active, then you'd be absolutely fine. Yeah. Excuse me. Right, next question. Another muscle one. So this one's from Carrie. So Carrie's kind of done really well in that she's lost 3 dress sizes, and quite a bit of weight and measurements more. Well, she's lost more in terms of measurements than in weight. But in a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, she's like, I think I'm kind of wanting to change my goal and I want to build muscle. And it's like, great. So she's obviously got an aesthetic goal. She wants to drop sizes, dress sizes, and lose inches. But she's like, if I was to build muscle now, would I still get the look that I want? So she's about 6 kilos off her goal weight, and that's we've had conversations about setting arbitrary targets, but that's her in her head, 6 kilos off her goal weight. Should I get to my scale weight first and then build muscle? Or can she build muscle now? That's a great question. And again, I think you'll get different answers from different trainers. Some trainers will say you can't do both at once. Focus on the weight loss, then build muscle. Because to build muscle, you do need to have adequate calories. So you can't have an aggressive deficit. You can't really cut your calories for fat loss and effectively build muscle at the same time. It is possible. It's just very, very, very slow. My kind of view is that if you eat at maintenance and build muscle and your weight stays the same, then if muscle's going up, fat's got to be coming down. it's a slower process than just fat loss. So, I mean, fat loss, you can lose anywhere between a half a pound up to 2 pounds of fat per week, depending on how much fat you've got to lose. With muscle, there is a fairly hard limit on that, in that for men, if you are a new trainer, you can sort of gain somewhere between 1.5 to 2 pounds of muscle per month, so half a pound of muscle a week. And then as you become more experienced, you might be lucky to gain half a pound to a pound of muscle. For women, you're probably looking at around about 1 to 1.5 pounds if you're a complete beginner, and then half a pound to a pound. Again, it's very slow, and it's even slower for women than it is for men. But I think if you focus on the process and you focus on what you want to achieve, then do that. But I think if you got 6 kilos to lose, that could take 12 weeks. In that time, you could, you could say, right, okay, let's say take 24 weeks to lose the 6 kilos of fat, but let's take 24 weeks to see if we can build, 6 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So there could be a net weight loss, but it's not that big. And you've lost the 6 kilograms of fat that you want to, but you've gained muscle at the same time. So I think for me, I think build muscle and try and lose fat at the same time is probably, especially just if your goals are lifestyle, general healthy lifestyle, sustainable goal, that's probably the best way of doing it. If you are somebody who's maybe prepping for a bodybuilding show, then you've got to bulk and put muscle on and then cut. Yeah. If you are somebody who is an athlete, or you do performance sport and you're in the off season, you'll build muscle and you'll bulk, and then you'll cut before the season so that you're ready to go again. But for the general population, I genuinely believe that the best way of doing it is to just eat at or just below maintenance, push your push your training, progressively overload, and build muscle and lose weight at the same time. Excuse me. Yeah. And then that way also, and this is something in there said, we've actually said she's stopping weighing. There are other reasons behind that. But we've stopped weighing for the next 4 weeks, and we're going to weigh again. We're going to weigh again afterwards. But I think focus on other things, focus on your body measurements, focus on your lifts, focus on how your clothes fit. So that's an important one with that one.
Yeah, well, it's like the post that got put out today about, not just focusing on their scales. And like you say, it is possible to do both at the same time. Like you can still, although I'm eating in deficit this week, I've still hit some PBs on some lifts. Like it doesn't mean that your strength get like that you can't still feel strong. There have been days where I've been like, maybe I haven't quite eaten enough before this training session, but there's no reason that you can't still push that strength, like you say, push your weights up.
No, absolutely. And the key thing that a lot of trainers forget is actually, it's not the amount of calories that you eat that builds muscle. You could eat 500 calorie surplus, but if it's the wrong type of food, then you're not going to build muscle. You specifically need to get protein. And what we need is a specific part of protein called leucine. So if you have adequate leucine, you will stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So the amount of muscle that you can build is going to be down to strength training, but it's strength training with adequate protein. And if you do that, then you can build muscle even if you're in a deficit. I mean, if you're in a big deficit, it makes it very, very hard because you're not really going to be able to lift very much. But yeah, even in a small deficit, you can still build muscle. It is slow, but that's fine. All right, calorie ranges. So this one, it wasn't really a question. It was just something that I've been through with some of the girls on their check-ins this week, talking about. So we've set them their calorie ranges, and sometimes they miss it and they're worried about it. So we've talked about in the past about optimal versus non-negotiable kind of goals. So what do we need for fat loss?
A calorie deficit.
Yeah. So any calories underneath your maintenance, you're in a deficit. And I think that's something we need to remember. So let's say your maintenance is 2,500 calories, and your deficit target is between 1,800 and 2,000, and you go over it to 2,200 calories, you're still in a deficit.
Yeah.
You're still going to lose. Just because you've gone over 2,000 calories, which is your target, we've set that to say, right, a pound a week, 500 calories. It's not quite that precise, but, 500 calories below. So we set 2,000. Oh, you've gone over it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're still in a deficit because you're still under your maintenance. So you're still going to lose fat. So I think have those goals. Like we set a range, have that as your optimal goal. You want to be in that range. If you go over it, don't stress too much, as long as you stay within your maintenance calories. Obviously, if you're going over your maintenance calories regularly,
yeah,
that's an issue, especially if your goal's fat loss. But if you're within your maintenance calories below them, you're still going to be in a deficit. Yes, things might slow down, but you're still in a deficit. You got anything else to add on that one?
I was gonna say, I think the other thing is just knowing that. I think a lot of people get hung up, and it's that it's a range for a reason. And the reason to do that is that there will be some days where it will be easier, or you won't be as hungry, and some days where you will feel like you need more food.
Yeah.
And if you do go over that, like you say, it's not the end of the world. But like you say, if you then start to eat over your maintenance, and then you see the scales go up, that's when you just need to be honest with yourself about the reasons why.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that a calorie deficit isn't working. It's just, tightening your tracking and think about what you can change to maybe keep yourself a bit fuller, and what you can maybe like swap out to make it easier for you. But yeah, like you say, as long as you're in a deficit, don't worry about it. That range is just there, like you say, to be optimal, but it doesn't mean that anything over that will suddenly result in a gain in
Yeah,
weight.
and I think that's something that everybody, because we all want fast results. That's the other thing. We all want fast results. So we set like this massive deficit. So I'm going to eat 1,200 calories, and it's like, it's not really going to make a huge difference. It doesn't speed things up that quickly.
Yeah.
You're not suddenly going to lose a stone in a week just by starving yourself. Your body has a finite capacity to lose fat. So isn't it better to just kind of, well, let's make changes that are long-term. Let's make changes that we can sustain, because the one thing a lot of people forget is that, diets are not there forever. You're not going to be on a diet forever, and you will eat differently when you're dieting compared to when you're maintaining, but not completely differently.
Yeah.
I would say 80 to 90% of what you do to lose weight, you have to keep doing to maintain those results afterwards. Yes, once you've reached your goal weight, yeah, you can have an extra glass of wine here or there, or an extra piece of cake, or an extra biscuit, or whatever. But you've got to do 90%, well, maybe not 90%, but 70 to 75% of what you did to lose the weight, you've got to do to maintain it. Yeah. So yeah, don't stress it too much. Don't stress too much. And again, adding on that range, I mean, also, if we gave a hard target mentally, if I said to you, right, you've got to hit 1,800 calories, as soon as you hit 1,810, I've ruined it. Yeah. And because we're almost hardwired to do that. A lot of people are hardwired to do that. But actually, if you go, right, 1,800 is my optimal. I want to, that's what I want to hit or get as close to as I possibly can. But actually, my non-negotiable is my maintenance. I've got to be under that, 2,500, say.
Yeah.
Anything in between there, absolutely fine. So I'm lower than my non-negotiable, and I'm trying to aim for my optimal. Wherever I come in the middle, I'm still winning. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, next one. What core exercises are a must to include into a workout? I have a stubborn mum tum. Do you know what? This is such a common question. I get this, I would say 3-4 times a week at least. Yeah. Loads. What can I do to tone this down? What can I do to firm my tummy up? What can I do to get rid of this? What's the answer?
Calorie deficit, I'm afraid. You can't spot reduce fat. You can't choose where it comes off from. Annoyingly, it probably comes off from the area that you want it to the most last. That's just always typical. But eating in a deficit is what's going to reduce overall body fat. And there's not one magic exercise that's going to cure that, unfortunately.
Oh, there's loads of them about on TikTok and Instagram at the moment, though, aren't there? There's all this kind of weird breathing exercises to build up. And you know what? I get it. I get why people fall for it, because it's such an emotive thing. For me, my hang up is my tummy, and because I was a lot bigger, I've got loose skin. I do have loose skin. And it's around my sides as well. And, the love handle area. My fat to back, as I say, I get slapped when I say that at home. But yeah, it is just a calorie deficit, and it's patience, and it does come off. I did manage to get down to a level where my body fat was so low that I had abs, and I did get, I went from 21 and a bit stone down to 21 and a half stone down to, I found out recently my lowest weight was actually 73 kilos. I found a Facebook post, and it was about 73 kilos,
Which
which
11?
kilograms lower than I thought.
Yeah.
That's 11 and a half stone. And yeah, I got down to that, and I did have abs. I wouldn't say I was happy at that point. And that's
Yeah.
another thing, that I got to that level. I'm like, I wasn't happy. I was hungry,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I wasn't happy. And actually, I'm happier now with the physique I've got now, with a little bit of, a little bit of chub on around a dad bod, so to speak, than I was when I was slimmer. But I think that's another question as well. It's like, it's another way of looking at it is, are you going to be happy when you do get there, when you do get rid of it? Now, core exercises, though, it's not to say that they're completely useless, because if you do lose the body fat over the top and you're patient and you maintain that deficit, then it'd be nice to have the toned muscles underneath. So yeah, you can do core exercises. Now, personally, you'll get loads of different opinions on this one. And again, this is my opinion. This is just a personal thing. I tend to think things like planks are good. But again, it depends on, for mums, you have to look at the physical capability. So like if you suffered with diastasis recti, so separated abdominal muscles, then core exercises are probably not a good thing to be doing until you've strengthened the deep core muscles and tried to bring them together. And you need to go and speak to a physio about that. They will give you the guidance on that. Oh, we've got Lando.
Sorry, yeah, we've got
We got a guest. Yeah, so go and speak to a physio, and they can give you specific exercises for that. But things like dead bugs, planks are good. Crunches, abdominal crunches, if you have, as long as your your muscles are close together. Russian twists are good, things like that. Leg raises, reverse crunches. One of my least favorite exercises, and almost pointless because people do them incorrectly, is sit-ups. Because actually they don't really work the core, they work your hip flexors, and they can put a bit of strain on your lower back if you're not careful. You get more for your abs, you get more from doing crunches than you do sit-ups. Okay. So I'd avoid sit-ups. But yeah, any sort of, all we're looking to do is bend or move side to side or rotate or learn to keep that tight, and brace the core. And then if you just do general lifting, so if you're lifting heavy, doing leg presses and deadlifts, you're going to brace your core.
Yeah.
You're going to work. I mean, I imagine when Tom gets you on the old leg presses, you'll feel that all over, not just your legs.
You know what? The worst thing I've done this week for my non-existent abs was Ninja Warrior. If you want to test your ab strength, go and do Ninja Warrior, because they hurt for about 3. Well, I went on Monday and I think they stopped hurting yesterday. So 4 days. And I know I wasn't the only one. So yes, it was hanging. It's
Yeah, so
apparently a good
that's
thing.
actually really good. So what you call a hollow hang, if you've got good grip strength, hold up and then just tense your core. And what you're trying to do is just move your hips slightly in front of your chest. That really engages your core. Really engages your core.
Yeah.
Leg raises, knee raises, hanging knee raises.
Yeah.
The key
All those
thing
good
is
ones.
it's a muscle. Okay, so you can progressively overload it as well. So you'll see all these weird and wonderful ab workouts where they'll do like HIIT training, where they'll do 6 ab exercises, one for 30 seconds, 10-second rest, and another one. That does not build a washboard stomach. It doesn't. It's a workout. It does something in terms of maintaining, but if you want to build abdominal muscles, you have to progressively overload them. So things like weighted crunches, you know, are good. Things like learning to brace while you're lifting heavier and heavier weights, deadlifting, you know, some of the crunch machines that you get at the gym.
Yeah.
And you load them up. I don't like them because they're not comfortable, but they do progressively overload the abs. I do cable crunches secretly at the gym that I go to because they don't like you doing it on the machines. Yeah, just cable crunches with things like that.
Yeah. Russian twists are another good one to build, like to build with a weight. It's like using a medicine ball is quite good with them because you're side to side, you can build up the weight again.
And it's good for mobility as well because you're using that weight. It really does open up thoracic spine, the top of your spine. Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking for core exercises, the standards are good. So crunches, reverse crunch, Russian twist, plank, dead bugs. You've got cable chops as well. There's another one called a Pallof press, which is quite a good one. You can Google that, Pallof. But yeah, load it up. So mix up body weight exercises with ones that use weight and progressively use heavier weight. So weighted crunches, for example, is always a good one. Cool. All right. 2 nutrition questions to finish off. I've actually answered these on my socials, but I thought they were good ones to kind of talk about. So the first one is, we'll do the quick one first. Electrolytes. Are they worth it? And if so, how often should I take them? Now, I was asked that in the gym yesterday. Yesterday? Yes, yesterday. Electrolytes.
I got into a good discussion. Well, I'll say good, a lovely discussion about these at work a few weeks ago, actually, and why actually for the majority of like the general population, we don't need them.
Yeah.
Is if you're drinking water and consuming a balanced diet, you don't need to be including electrolytes, unless you are training incredibly hard, sweating a lot, you know, running marathons, maybe like that, then it would be helpful. You know, if you're doing something that's really strenuous over a prolonged period of time, then yeah, they are going to be beneficial. But if you're just taking them as a means of extra hydration, just drinking sufficient water and getting enough liquid in through the day is more than enough. But you don't need the extra salts that they're giving you, unless you're sweating excessively, basically.
And that's the key thing there, salt. So, you know, the Western diet, actually, we consume too much salt in our diet, and we have a problem with high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Taking electrolytes is only going to, so if you've got high blood pressure and you're consuming too much sodium, taking electrolytes is only going to make that problem worse. So, and actually, all they are just, yes, they market them as a proprietary blend of a little bit of salt on your food, or if you're feeling like you might need a bit, or you're feeling like, oh, I'm getting a bit of cramp or whatever, bit of salt on your food, or just a little bit of salt in some water with a squeeze of lemon juice to hide the taste, because salty water is rank. It's more than enough. That's all you need. You know, and I said on the post as well, if there are other minerals in there that you feel you're deficient in, go and get a blood test. And take a supplement for those minerals, because actually, as you said, if you've got a good balanced diet, then you don't need an electrolyte. You don't need to be taking these supplements. In fact, any supplements. And the other thing with that one as well is that a lot of these supplements don't always contain what is on the label. And I mentioned that with another reel that I did, another story I did. A lot of these supplements are not regulated. They're not tested. So they'll put this is what we've got in it, and you can test it and go, well, it could have even more sodium than it said. So it's one of those things. It's just an expensive water flavoring. There are some people, like you say, who could take it. So performance athletes, if you're doing an endurance event, if you are on a very restrictive diet. So I've spoken to somebody today who's on a really, really low FODMAP diet, low residue, and they are dehydrated. So yes, electrolytes are definitely useful. And I think, you know, if you have, let's say you've got irritable bowel disease or a diarrhea or something like that, then yes, an electrolyte can be useful. But generally, if you go for a workout, just drink water.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Yeah. It saves you a ton of money as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you see loads, yeah. I think you said somebody at work was drinking them in the
No,
office.
there was, what was it? I work on a construction site, and it was one site manager talking about the other one. But one of them was complaining he had a headache, basically. And the other one said, oh, it's because you don't drink enough water. You need to get your electrolytes in, have your salt. And he was like, I don't know how you do it every day. And they started having this argument because he was someone that just every morning will have water, lemon, salt, reckons it's the best thing on the planet because that's why he's so hydrated. And I was like, no, you just need to drink enough water. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to be including more salt. Like, that's, and we got into this bit of a discussion because he just completely disagreed that not everyone in the general public needs to be taking electrolytes. I was like, no, if you can just drink like 2 to 3 liters of water minimum every day, I promise you that you'll be fine.
If squeezing lemon into water makes you drink more water, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
But
don't need to.
saying that lemon and salt is what's keeping you healthy because we should all be consuming electrolyte drinks and this, that, and the other. No, we don't
Absolutely
need
not. No. No. All right, last question. What do you look for when choosing a protein powder? That's a great one.
Mm.
So, and I think a lot of it's down to personal choice. So what do you look for when you're consuming a protein powder?
Taste.
Yeah.
So I've had some, I've tried, I mean, for some people, I understand they're completely necessary. Was when I was first sort of like trying out protein powders, and I am, like you will, slightly lactose intolerant, not fully. And some ways I couldn't tolerate. So I tried some like the vegan blends. Never again. The worst thing I ever did.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got nothing against vegan protein, and obviously,
The taste for me is just not
yeah,
okay.
there's nothing against them. I mean, if you are vegetarian or vegan, if you're vegan, then absolutely they can be a
Yeah,
really useful
I've
tool.
definitely have their uses, but for me, I decided that I would rather tolerate the whey than have pea protein. But yeah, for me, it's more just making sure the macros are good on them. I have a lot of the clear whey isolates now because the macros on those are really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's now what I probably have more than like the flavors. But when I am looking at one that's like a flavored, more of like your milkshakey type whey, it's more just how much protein you're getting for the content. So always checking the contents of it, looking at the macros per 100 grams and comparing them that way, and just seeing which one is giving you the best.
Yeah.
And they'll all have like slightly different price points as well. A lot of the times you can always get offers on them, but sometimes the more expensive ones are more expensive for a reason because the macro content is so much better on them. And don't be caught out by the ones like in the shops that are like protein powder. There's one particular brand that I got excited to see because of the flavors, but actually the macros on it are like awful. It's not really worth it for the protein
Is
content.
this like the Mars bar and Snickers bar
That's
one?
the ones. Yeah, I got excited
Yeah.
to try the Mars one, and then I bought it. I didn't check, got it home, and then went to use it, track it on NutriCheck, and I was like, oh,
The calories. Yeah, so it's not that much protein.
No, yeah, they're just not worth it. So yeah, it's one that's, I think I ended up binning it in the end because I just wasn't using it. It was just taking up space in the cupboard. So yeah, I'd say definitely just check your macros on them and go for it.
I think for the protein powder, you're right in that you've got to think about what you're using it for. So if the chocolate bar ones, they do have their uses. I'm with you, not for me, because the protein is low. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you are struggling to get protein in, and you don't like normal protein powders, but those do it for you because they taste nice. And they're going to boost it. They might only have 15 grams of protein in a 30-gram scoop, which compared to some of the others that can get 20, 22, 25 grams of protein in a 30-gram scoop. Not great, and so, but if that's going to increase your protein, great, use them.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're somebody that tolerates other protein powders, then yeah, And it's a balance as well. So you're right in that some of the more expensive ones, so you like your Optimum Nutrition, your gold standard sort of stuff that have got a higher protein content. So they're like 80 to 85 grams of protein per 100 grams of protein powder. They're like double the price. You
Yeah.
know, you're looking at say 40 quid for a kilo. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but say for
Yeah.
example, whereas you look at some of the other like bulk powders or My Protein or Protein Works that might only have 72 to 75 grams, so 10 grams per 100 grams less, but it's half the price.
Yeah.
So then when you think actually per 20 grams of protein, which is what you're probably after, you're looking at a lot less. It might be, 60p instead of £1.20.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's my general rule is if it's got 70 grams or above, it's okay. Look at the price. Okay. So if it's about sort of say some around about 20 quid a kilo, it's got 70 grams above, then that's okay for you per 100 grams of protein. That's okay. That means it works out at about 18, 19 grams per 25 gram scoop. You're right in that I'm like you, lactose intolerant. So whey protein, standard whey protein, if you're lactose intolerant, is probably going to cause some issues. You're going to be bloating. You might suffer with a little bit of an upset tummy. Try the clear whey proteins. They
Yeah.
have the carbohydrates removed, which is what lactose is. It's a sugar, so it has the lactose removed. Try those, okay? They're a little bit more expensive, but they're higher in protein. So actually, per unit of protein, not that bad. And then the other thing is look at what it is you're using it for.
Yeah.
Because ideally you want to get your protein in from whole food sources. That's going to keep you fuller for longer. These protein powders, and I do use them, but they're there as to kind of top up your protein.
Yeah.
Not there as an ultimate source. Protein shakes, they can help to keep you full, but they're not as filling as whole food. Don't have a protein shake to stop you feeling hungry.
Yeah.
So try and get it in whole food. But yeah, I mean, I think you kind of got to think why it is you have it. Older people, I think it's really good. I think older people really would benefit from, and when I say older people, I'm talking like 65 plus, and the official geriatric age. I think that's what the geriatric category is. My mother would kill me for saying that because she definitely wouldn't consider herself geriatric, even though she's 70 this year. No, next year. God, I nearly aged her. I just hope my mother doesn't ever listen to this one. She's 69 this year. So yeah, she would never consider herself geriatric. But I think as you would get older, we struggle to get protein in because it's harder to digest. So
Yeah.
a protein shake is good. They use protein shakes for people who struggling to eat. Again, the person I spoke to today who has the irritable bowel disease, they use protein, impact protein to boost the
Yeah.
protein intake. But yeah, at least 70 grams per 100 grams is a good guide. Flavors and how it blends. And the other thing, check to see if it's third party tested.
Yeah.
And you can do that by just going onto the product's website. If you go onto the website, that will say somewhere that it's third party tested, and it'll probably give you information on the lab. And the reason for that is that if it's third party tested, it's tested by an independent laboratory. And what it says on the label is what is in the bag, because they randomly select bags from batches and they do it periodically. So it's not just a send it off and test it and we've got a certificate. That's great. They have to do it regularly. And they come in and randomly select some of these batches, they test it, and they give it a stamp of approval if it meets the required standards. And that's the same for any supplement. I use bulk powders because it's cheap. Loads of people criticize bulk. There's maximum 7 ingredients in there. You've got milk protein, soy protein. There are some thickeners in there. If you use normal whey protein, because it adds to the texture, you're going to have a sweetener in there, which I'll talk about in a second, and flavorings. But normally there's 5 ingredients in your whey protein.
Yeah.
Bulk powders has 5 ingredients. My protein, third-party tested, 5 ingredients. Protein Works, I think, is third-party tested. I know Optimum Nutrition is as well. So those are all tested. They're good. Use them. Look at the price points, look at the flavors you like. Just the one last thing on sweeteners. Some of the sweeteners in there, have a look. They will end in OL, which means that they are a sugar alcohol. And some people will get bloated from having different. So I know for me, if I have maltitol, that bloats me. It doesn't make me ill. It's not having any negative effects in me. It just, when I eat that, my gut bacteria processes it, ferments it, releases a ton of gas, and I get gassy. More so than if I was, having lactose. So I look for stuff that's got other sweeteners in there. So xylitol is one that I can tolerate. Stevia, most people can. So look for the sweeteners in there. So if you find a protein powder and you get bloated, probably not the powder, it'll be the sweetener in there. So try another one.
Yeah.
So that's it. Because you get loads of people. Eddie Abu's got a lot to answer for. I don't like mentioning his name because it just draws attention to him. He has got a lot of answer for going around saying protein powder's poison. It is literally, it's a food. It is a byproduct from producing cheese.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it. It's literally, so when they say, oh, it's got milk protein in it, yeah, it's whey protein. It's the byproduct from making cheese. They extract it, they add some flavorings to it, bit of gum if it's a milk-based one, like a milky shaky one. That's it. And a sweetener. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you want, don't have the sweeteners, try plain protein powder. It's rank.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's great.
No. All right if you add it to stuff, but it's rank. Oh, yeah. Not on its own. I've made the mistake of ordering unflavoured once. Shook it up and I went, and let it dribble out of my mouth. It was horrible.
You won't do that again.
No, I won't do that again. Absolutely not. Cool. I think that's all the questions. I mean, I've had some really good questions just generally asked me. And there's lots of little things that, I want to kind of talk about, and it'd be interesting if people would give opinions and feedback on this. And that, so one of the things that one of my philosophies when it comes to weight loss is find what your baseline is first. So I've had a couple of new clients start with me this week, and they're always surprised when I say, right, I'll work out your calories, but I don't want you to start eating in a deficit at the moment. I want you to track what you're eating, and we're just going to just eat normally, track it, and see what your weight does. Because most of the time we find that they're eating in maintenance, which is great. And then we just tweak. So we say, right, we know that you're eating this and you're eating the calories, this calories. So what can we swap? What can we change? Not what can we cut out? It's what can we change? What can we add in that will mean you eat less of the higher calorie stuff? And that's a better way of doing it. And I think we need to perhaps go through talk through a strategy for people, how they might approach calorie deficit and diet long term.
All know how much I love a little smart swap.
Yeah, smart swaps, absolutely. And that's the stuff that we try and teach this course. And we're starting to, the next one's coming up soon.
It is.
Yeah, in 3 weeks, is it? 3 weeks, I think. Yeah. So 3 weeks. So I will be pushing that next week.
Perfect.
Cool. All right then, guys. Have a great night. That is me done for Friday. It's 9 p.m. on a Friday. That's a long last day. I will let Alice go as well and have her dinner. Oh, you've had your dinner?
Yeah, I'll have to sneak in early.
Yeah.
Got meal prep to do for the rest of the week, so that'll be me till 10 o'clock.
Somebody was getting hungry in your house, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
All right. We will speak to you guys next week. So it's from us. Bye for now.
Bye.